You know, let's give honor to the Father and name of Yahshua for his Sabbath. It's a beautiful thing, yet again. We're going to deal with, it's going to tie into it. We're going to deal with the wilderness. Now, we were talking about this earlier this evening. We're going to go a little bit more in depth because y'all familiar with the Exodus story, right? Y'all familiar with that? Y'all know that was, I mean, I know y'all know, you may not know. But them was our ancestors. Like in the movie, they got them white. You know what I'm saying? But that was us. And the same things that happened to them when they came out of slavery is the same thing that's going to happen to us when we leave from here. Now, it's also going to be a time of trouble that's mentioned about. The brother talk about going in the wilderness, a place of refuge. And the book does say that, and we're going to deal with it. Everybody may not make it to the wilderness as far as being protected during that time, but everybody's going. You know what I'm talking about? At one time. Because you got to be brought under the bond of the covenant, just like we were the first time. So with that being said, before we deal with that, go to Exodus 4 and 22. That's where we're going to start at. Because the same thing that he said here, he's going to say it again. Because Egypt is a Greek word. It means bondage. Biblically, the land that is called Egypt will be called Mizraim, that land that's in northeast Africa. And you'll also see that all this is talking about the Messiah. And all this, Lord permit, going to tie in. This might last for a while, because we're going to do some of this. We're going to deal with actual life, what happened during that time. So we can learn from the mistakes that they made, so that when we go to the wilderness, that we don't make the same errors. You understand what I'm saying? Because the thing is, with them, when they came out, they didn't know nothing about no God in Israel. They didn't know him. You know what I'm saying? They were in bondage for about 200 some odd years. We were in Egypt for 430 years, but we wasn't enslaved for the whole 30. But they didn't know nothing about the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So their first dealings with him was coming out of the wilderness. That's when we began to deal with it and know who we were. That's why Moses said, well, if they ask me what your name is, what I'm going to tell them. You know what I'm saying? Because these people don't know who you are. It's the same thing as we coming up out of America. Our people don't know who we are. We don't know who our God is. We've been in bondage all this time. You know what I'm saying? So when he pulled us in the wilderness and begin, like, people are familiar with the Bible, but they don't know that this covenant and the things contained in it is to us. And the reason why we in this country suffering in the fashion that we is because we disobeyed it. You know what I'm saying? So therefore the curses of the book fell on us. So when we leave from up out of here, and with great signs and wonders, and we go in this wilderness, the same process is going to repeat itself. And we're going to see that. But Exodus 4 and 22. This is what the man said. He said, thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith Yah, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. Now we know that Israel means to have power with God. This is what Jacob's name was changed to when he wrestled with the angel. So, we named after him. We are his fervent lover, as he says in Amos 3. We are the only people of all the families of the earth that he has known. That's why he punishes us. So he's saying, send my son out, which is also is referring to the Messiah. We don't see that. Go to Hosea 11:1. I know, Papa. Hosea 11. I think that's after the book of Daniel. Hosea 11:1 says this: when Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt. So you heard what it said in Exodus. That I call, tell Pharaoh, tell the king, tell the president. You know what I'm saying? That's one way to put it, because in Isaiah 30 he say, my people look to Pharaoh, and their trust in Pharaoh shall be their shame, and their trust in the shadow of Egypt shall be their confusion, because our people trust in oppression, as he said in Isaiah 30. So he's saying here, he's referring back to what he said in Exodus 4. Israel was a child, I loved him, I called him out of Egypt. So let's see how this pertains to the master. So we notice the master, Matthew 2 and verse 7. He said, then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time that star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, go, search diligently for the young child, and when you have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. And when they had heard the king, they departed to the star, which they saw in the east, went before them till they came and stood over where the young child was. And when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were coming to the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, then departed into their own country another way. And when they departed, behold, the angel of Yah appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. And when he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night, and departed into Egypt, and was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of Yah by the prophet, saying, Out of Egypt I have called my son. So you see that it's the twofold. Yeah, we talk about our people, but you can see both of them was really talking about the master. You know what I'm talking about? And the same thing is going to happen. When the master returns, he's going to call us out of Egypt and all the other places that we have been scattered. So with that being said, let's look at 1 Corinthians 10 and 1. So that's just to set the stage, because the wilderness thing is important. Like you said, we were dealing with earlier, a lot of people, when they see the folks stepping down, they ready to flee. You know what I'm saying? We got to get to the wilderness, this, that, there, the other. And yet you may not even live to get to the wilderness when that happens. You may not even get to go. You know what I'm saying? As far as being there to be protected. But at the end of the day, if you're breathing, there's a time coming, you go. You know what I'm saying? Because he said he's gonna plead with us face to face like he did our forefathers. So that's let you know, you go. Because there is no, you may not know this, but there's no such thing as a rapture. See, they teach the rapture. Rapture doctrine really wasn't started to be pushed until like 1980. It's been around for a long time. An Irish Protestant preacher by the name of John Nelson Darby is the one who came up with it. But you can't find the word rapture in the Bible. You know what I'm saying? No pre-tribulation rapture, no 7-year tribulation. You can't find any of these things. You know what I'm saying? Father says, I'm Yah, change not. So that means, he said in another place, thy years are the same, and be the same forever. Yahshua the Messiah, Jesus Christ, the same yesterday, today, and forever. Everything that he did the first time, he's going to do it again. You know what I'm saying? So that means some of the same plagues that was put on Egypt the first time, he's going to put it on this place and any other place that we've been scattered in. Will he necessarily kill their firstborn like he did the first time? He doesn't say he will. But if he does, hey, hallelujah, Yahshua, let him do what he do. But they might see plagues of frogs and locusts, you know what I'm talking about? And all these things. Because he's going to do the same things all over again. But 1 Corinthians 10, but the main thing that we want to deal with is not making the mistake that our forefathers made when they were in the wilderness. He said, Moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud and were all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea. And we're going to end up reading that part, because a lot of brothers say there's no water baptism in the Old Testament, not knowing that when we passed through the Red Sea, that was symbolizing the water baptism. You know what I'm saying? They don't even realize that nor see that, because obviously the Father's not permitting them to see that. And he said, and all did eat that same spiritual meat, and all did drink that same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was the Messiah. Now, I keep that in mind with this rock, because me and his brother just had a conversation with that, and he had put that in my mind, and it was also dealt with on Wednesday about this rock. We're going to see something about this rock and a few other places. Maybe not the places that we went to and dealt with Wednesday, but we're going to see something about this rock. So keep that in mind, because you've been dealing with the Messiah or Yahshua the whole time. He said, but many of them God was not well pleased, for they were overthrown in the wilderness. Now these things were our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. So this is what we're supposed to learn from what's recorded of what happened in the wilderness with our forefathers the first time. That they were an example of what happens to us when we go after and lust after evil things. Because he wasn't well pleased with them. And we'll deal with it in Hebrews 3. And we're going to take our time with it, because this is a lot of information. And we're not going to try to keep it too long, but we don't want to go too fast. He said, neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them. So how were some of them idolaters? The Lord, we're going to read, they made a golden calf when Moses went up on the mountain to get the testimony. You know what I'm saying? They were bowed out and they were worshiping. They rose up to play, singing and dancing and all this here. They worship another God. This man explicitly told them not to do this, and say this golden calf led them out of Egypt and not Yah himself. And he says, as it's written, people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them committed and fell in one day 23,000. Neither let us tempt the Messiah, as some of them also tempted and were destroyed of serpents. Neither murmur ye, as some of them also murmured and were destroyed of the destroyer. Now all these things happened unto them for examples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come. So we say all these things were written for our example, that we may be admonished not to do the same thing. Because at the end of the world, he say, upon who the end of the world comes, because we're going to end up having to go through the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So you can sit here and you can learn from their mistakes, so you can do what? Not make the same mistake they made. You know what I'm talking about? Because it's going to be some people, they're going to say the exact same things that some of our forefathers said, and do the exact same things, and he's going to kill them just like he killed our forefathers. He's going to leave your body stank right then and there on the spot. You know what I'm saying? Because the God of Israel ain't going to be played. A lot of people don't understand that nor realize that. And he will take you up out of here. And when we get to the wilderness, he's going to be taking people up out of here. He's going to give you a space, but if you buck him and you try, you out of here. Because this is now we're getting ready to do what? When we go in the wilderness the second time, what's going to happen? We're going in the land. You know what I'm saying? Same thing it was with the first time. We're going in the land. So the rebels and the transgressors and the unclean and the defiled and the disobedient, they're not going to get to enter into that rest. Just like they didn't enter into the rest the first time. And it says, well, we'll end it there. Let's look at Hebrews 3 and 1. So this is what the key thing is to remember, because see, they're not getting us mentally prepared to deal with certain things. Now we know we need to be right long before that comes. But like I said, our God is just. Everybody that was in Egypt the first time when we came out, like I said, they didn't know anything about the Most High. So, you know what I'm saying? He was giving them, like he said, I'm bringing you into this here to put my fear before you to see whether you will sin or not, whether you will keep my commandments or no. You know what I'm saying? So those of us who are of the seed of Israel at that time, he's going to be bringing you in to see, okay, you may have not knew nothing about me, you may have not knew nothing about my ways, but you're of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. So I'm going to bring you through here, and I'm going to show you my covenant. Fuck me if you want them, and I'm going to lead you straight. It's simple as that. And you have to sit there and ask yourself, well, what is it that you desire? Do you desire everlasting life to dwell in the rest of the Father, or do you desire to lust after evil things and be destroyed? Hebrews 3 and 1. He said, wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, consider the apostle and high priest of our profession, the Messiah Yahshua. So he's telling us that if we're partakers of the heavenly calling, which is holiness in the Messiah, then we need to consider our high priest and the apostle of our profession. We need to consider the Messiah. We need to consider the things that he has done. He said, who was faithful to him that appointed him, and also Moses was faithful in all his house. So the same way Moses was faithful to everything the Father told him to do, save in one matter, and we don't read about that, so was the Messiah. Golly, man, what you done here, boy? You need to stay home here, man. You know what I'm saying? Because Moses did everything the Father commanded him, and he was faithful in his house and in the execution of his work. He said, for this man was counted worthy of more glory than Moses, inasmuch as he who have built the house have more honor than the house. For every house is built by some man, but he that built all things is God. So hold that, go to Isaiah 28:16. See here what he said? He said, he that built the house has more honor than the house. You know what I'm saying? Well, guess what? Let's see who built the house. Isaiah 28:16. And again, it's tying back to that rock. So just remember that. He said, therefore, thus saith Yah, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believes shall not make haste. So he sitting here, matter of fact, and he say, judgment also where I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and water shall overflow the hiding place. So when you talk about the water, you know what that's talking about, right? Talking about that spirit yet again. So just remember that time in the last week. So when you say this cornerstone, when you build a building, what you got to do, you got to lay a found cornerstone. You got to lay the rock. The Messiah is the rock of the house of God, the cornerstone. As he said, go to Psalm 118, and you can read it again. We're going to come back to this Hebrews 3. But let's go on here and read this real fast. 22. Psalm 118 and 22. Listen to what he says. The stone which the builders refused is become the headstone of the corner. Now the master told the scribes and Pharisees this, because the headstone that the builders are refusing, that these people in the world are refusing, he's the headstone of the corner. The house is built on him. Because what did he say? That same spiritual rock And that rock is the Messiah. The house is built on him. You can't go past, you can't even get no way around. You have to come to him. So if you don't come to him, you can't get in the house. He say, and this is Yah's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. So going back to Hebrews 3, so he say, it's this the Father's doing that men reject the headstone in the corner. You know what I'm talking about? And it's marvelous in our eyes, because he say, he that believeth on that tried stone, that precious cornerstone, he say, you ain't gonna make haste. Ain't nothing gonna slow you down. Ain't nothing gonna stop you or defeat you, because you gonna put your trust in the living God. There's no condemnation to those who believe that Yahshua is the Son of God. They can overcome the world, because why? They put their faith and trust in the Word, because he is the Word, that as he overcame, they can overcome through him and be built up in heavenly places on him. Back in Hebrews 2, we stop at verse 5. He said, Moses truly was faithful in all of his house, as a servant for a testimony of those things which were to be spoken after. So it's sitting here telling you that everything that Moses did was set up as a testimony to bear witness to the Messiah. As he say, lo, I come in the volume of the book, it's written of me. He said, but the Messiah as a son over his own house, whose house are we. So he said, we his house. So hold this and go to 1 Peter, 2nd chapter, 2 and 5. We'll let Peter tell it to you. We'll start at verse 4. He says, to whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed indeed of men, but chosen of God and precious. So now you're hearing Peter referring to what we just read in Psalms 118, right? Say he's chosen of God, but he's disallowed of men. He's precious before God. He said chief cornerstone, precious stone. He said ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Yahshua the Messiah. So remember what he told Peter? Upon this rock I will build my church. So he's sitting here telling you, Peter, you're going to be that, the first lively stone that's going to be laid on top of me, the precious cornerstone, to begin the house of God. Because how do you describe our bodies? As his tabernacle. You know what I'm talking about? He said, know ye not that your bodies are the temple of the living God? So what does it take to build a temple? You got to lay rock on rock, don't you? So here's what he's talking about, lay. That we the lively stones building up as a spiritual house, and those spiritual sacrifices is our bodies. Like he said in Romans 12, offer your body as a living sacrifice, which is telling you what he said in Psalms 50 and 5. Gather my saints together, which made a sacrifice, made a covenant with me by sacrifice. Because how do you sacrifice yourself? You're taking up your cross and you're denying yourself. Because that's what the Master did. He offered himself as a sweet smelling savor to the Father. He offered his body as a sacrifice. Because he said, bulls and goats you had no pleasure in. You gave me a body. You didn't have any pleasure in the sacrifice of bulls and goats. He wants us to sacrifice our will to do his will. This is what he's talking about. Verse 6 back in 1 Peter, 2nd chapter, that's where we at. Say, wherefore also is contained in the scripture, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious, and he that believe on him shall not be confounded. Unto you therefore which believe, he is precious. But unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner. So to those that believe, you know what I'm saying? Of course you're going to hold the Messiah in great regard, are you not? You know what I'm talking about? Because you understand who he is and what his objective is. But if you're disobedient, that same stone that you disallowed is going to come back around and crush you and grind you to powder. Verse 8, and he said, a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. So this is going back to 2 Thessalonians 2 and 10, where he says, there are some that are damned to damnation from the beginning because they didn't have a love for the truth. You know what I'm saying? When the word comes, they don't want to do it, so therefore they're damned. They set up to go to hell from the jump street because the Father already knew from the jump street when my word comes, they're going to reject it. Not because he made their hearts hard like that to do so, it's because they didn't have a heart to obey the word from the jump street. You know what I'm talking about? And that's going the same way as he says in Psalm 65, blessed is him who thou choose to enter into thy court. Because you know the Master chose his disciples. You know what I'm talking about? So there's people that were chosen in salvation at the beginning of the world because they had a heart and a mind to obey the word. Everybody doesn't have a heart and a mind to obey the word. Regardless of what the world tell you, everybody doesn't have a heart and a mind to believe and then obey what's written in this book. Because this man who I see every day claim they believe his Bible, but yet they don't. The questions they ask, the things that they say, the things that they do show that. And we're going to read a verse where it says that plainly, that if you don't obey the book, you don't even believe it. You know what I'm saying? And people don't really deal with that. That's a serious thing, because then that's going to make us assess ourselves and what we're doing and how we live. Do I really believe what this man say, Or am I just giving lip service, as he says in Ezekiel 33 or Isaiah 29? These people draw near to me with their mouth, but their hearts are far from me. Or with their mouth they show much love, but they're not steadfast in my covenant. Because you ain't gonna worry with many people in this world. They say, I hate the Lord, I hate God, I despise the Father, but yet their lifestyle say they can't stand it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what he's looking at. Because people are quick to tell you, well, he that say he believes, he shall be saved. But if you saying you believe with your mouth, that means you believe it in your mind, which means it should manifest in your actions. Many people out here say they love the Lord, but they do otherwise. You got homosexuals, fornicators, whoremongers, liars, thieves, murderers. All manner of people say they love the Lord, but actually they don't, because the book say to love him is to keep his commandments. So if you don't love him, then what's the flip side of that? You hate him. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's looking at. Does that mean he won't give you space to amend your way? Absolutely. But some people, as we just read, and he's quoting Isaiah the 8th chapter, when he said that, what is it right? He'll be a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. Because a lot of people open up this book and they're going to stumble at it. And they're going to stumble at it to their own destruction because they don't have a desire to obey it in the first place. He said, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood. And keep that in mind about that royal priesthood. A holy nation and a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in were past were not a people, but now are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but have obtained mercy. Now keep those two verses in mind, because we're going to go in the scriptures and you're going to hear that again, and you're going to see who he's talking about and why he said it. And both of those locations, that is a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, people who are now the chosen people of God, who before did not have mercy, but now they're going to have mercy. Because you got to remember who Peter was writing. It was a epistle who was writing to the Jews. You know what I'm saying? His letters is different than Paul. Paul was writing to Gentiles. This man was writing to Jews. And he was quoting scripture and pretty much every verse we just read. You know what I'm saying? With except the only one that he mentioned that's what he was doing. But going back to Hebrews. Because we have to understand the scripture to be able to understand the epistle. And when we understand the scripture, then it makes the epistle a lot more clear and easier to understand. And where did we stop? We stopped here at verse 7. And he says, wherefore the Holy Ghost says, today if you will hear his voice, harden not your heart as in the provocation, the day of temptation in the wilderness. This is Psalms 95. We're not going to read it, but that's what he's quoting. You know what I'm saying? You will read that on your own time, because it's going to pretty much have to be redundant. But that's what he quotes. And he said, when your fathers tempted me and proved me and saw my works 40 years. And we're going to read that, how they tempted the Most High. They proved the Most High. They tried it. He showed them what time it was. And that's going to let us know for us not to do the same thing. He said, wherefore I was grieved with that generation and said, they do always err in their heart. They have not known my ways. So I swear in my wrath, they shall not enter into my rest. So you see what he said, why these people didn't get in? Because they didn't know his ways. They didn't want to walk in. And he swear on his name. This man's not a liar. They're not coming in the land. Take heed, brethren. That's the thing here. Take heed, lest there be any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. So now the writer of Hebrews is letting that be known that if you depart from God, which is to do what? Depart from his commandments, depart from his way, then you have an evil heart, an evil mind, an unbelief dwelling in you. He said, but warn one another daily while it's called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. Because this is what hardens a man's heart. This is what causes a man to stumble, because sin is deceptive. As he said in the parable of the sower, the seed that's sowed among the thorns, and he that hear the word of the deceitfulness of riches and the cares of this life, choke the word that it become unfruitful, because sin and the things of this life can deceive you to thinking that you're doing God's work when you're really doing your own work. You know what I'm saying? You're really doing the things that please you, and you thinking you're going to have life, but you ain't going to get it. There's many people in this world walk around, they quickly say they're blessed. You know what I'm saying? Male or female. Usually women use the term highly favored to go along with it. But if you're not obeying God, how are you blessed? If you're not obeying God, how are he favoring you? Well, in the natural sense, are you going to favor a disobedient child? Are you going to bless a disobedient child? What makes you think the Father in heaven is going to do that? That doesn't make any sense. So what is that? That's the deceitfulness of sin, allowing you to think because you're getting the things that you're lusting after, that God is showing you favor and blessing you. Because it's the sin that's deceiving you into believing that you're getting this from him, the God of heaven and earth, not the God of this world, which is Satan. You know what I'm talking about? To think you really getting these things when you know that I ain't doing nothing to feel saved. It's many people, I'm telling you, all of us know it. It's many people walk around here talking about they love God, they know God, and they on their way to hell. You know what I'm saying? And when they lay down on their bed at night and they ponder and commune with their own heart, they know they're going to hell. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to have nobody tell them. When there ain't nobody around, there's nobody in front of, nobody to play the role with, they know they lay on their bed like they know, boy, I ain't doing nothing. And man say, I'm going to hell. And most people think about it. Some don't even think about it. Some say, screw it, cool, man, I'm going to live my life. You only got one life to live. Yeah, they right. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You're right. Because you're going to live this life, and then you're going to wake up, and then you're going to burn in hell forever. You know what I'm saying? Because the punishment is not tangible in people's face. You know what I'm saying? The people tell you, we give you a life sentence for committing murder in the state of Florida. You see them state prisons. Whether you done been across one, you seen a movie about it, you know what I'm saying? You heard about prison. They rape people in there. You know what I'm saying? They steal, they fight, they do this here. So, well, for real, you know what I'm saying? You got people, they may have never been, but you done heard stories. The number one story most people hear is that people get raped in there. You know what I'm saying? Or they beat you up, or you got to fight. So when you hear that, there's some people might ask a deterrent to say, I don't want to break the law, so I don't want to go to jail. I remember my cousin told me, he said, I ain't going to jail. I said, I ain't going to bathe. He ain't going to rape me. You know what I'm talking about? And this is a woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, though, this is a mind, but people since ain't nobody in the lake of fire yet. You know what I'm talking about? Can't nobody come and tell you, look here, man, that fire is so hot, and them worms bite so fierce. You know what I'm talking about? You don't want to come here. The master gave a parable about it. You know what I'm talking about? And and Abraham told that dude, he said, look here, man, they got Moses and the prophets. He said, let him hear them. He said, surely if I come from the dead and warn my brothers ain't going to come to this place. He said, if they ain't going to hear Moses and the prophets, they surely ain't going to hear nobody come back from the dead. Because that's real. I don't need nobody to come back from the dead and tell me I'm going to go to hell. He told me right here. That's enough. You know what I'm saying? For me anyway, I can't speak to nobody else. That man told me, you a sinner, I'm going to kill you. That's enough for me. He told me, you a sinner, you ain't getting in my house. That's enough for me. But I know black people. I know niggas. I know Jews. They got to see. That's why he said an evil and adulterous generation seek a sign, and they ain't going to get one. You know what I'm saying? That's what's wrong with people. He said, unless you see signs and wonders, you won't believe. Why you just can't believe me on the strength of my word? That's what he tells you. But continue on. He said, for we are made partakers of the Messiah if we hold the beginning of our confidence steadfast until the end. So if you got confidence in the Word of God, you got confidence in the promises that He's made to those that obey Him, with what He was trying to get our forefathers to understand in the wilderness, then you'll be steadfast, you'll be strong, knowing that you're going to be a partaker of the Messiah. Because what did the Messiah say? I'm not. If any man hear my voice, I will open unto him, and he will sit in my throne as I sit in my Father's throne. Everything that he said that the Father gave him, he said he's going to turn around and give it to you. You know what I'm saying? So this is your hope that if I stand on His word, if I obey this word and overcome the world as He did, I'll receive these same things. So listen to what he said. He said, while it is said, today if you will hear His voice, harden not your heart as in the provocation. Because he said, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. What is that voice? The voice is the word. So if you hear the word, and don't harden your mind, don't harden your heart to not obey it, then you can hear His voice. And if you hear His voice, what you going to do? You're going to take direction. You're going to follow orders. He said, for some, when they had heard, did provoke. However, not all that came out of Egypt by Moses. So he said, some, when they hold the word, they tried the Most High. He said, it wasn't everybody. We can't get that twisted, because a lot of people like to cast our people off. Just like everybody didn't turn on the Messiah and say, give us Barabbas, kill him, let his blood be on our children's children. Oh, Israel was rejected because they rejected the Messiah. The man didn't. Every Jew didn't reject him. We can read scripture where he say, and he talked to the Jews that believed on him. You know what I'm saying? Everybody didn't reject him. You know what I'm talking about? Just like everybody didn't try the Most High in the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? Just a select few of unbelieving people. He said, but whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness? And to whom sware he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believe not? So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. So he said, he wasn't mad at it. What parent will be mad at a child that's doing what he said? What am I take off on Joshua and Caleb for, and they trust and believe in me? I'm going to take off on them. I'm going to take off on Korah and Doban, who were trying me in the wilderness. I'm going to take off on them and let the earth swallow them up and eat them. You know what I'm talking about? He said, you don't punish the fathers for the sins of the children, nor the son for the sins of the father, but every man will be punished for his own sin. I'm not going to punish you when you ain't did nothing, but I'm going to kill you, though. Who did he kill when they sat there and worshiped that golden calf? He killed the ones who did it. He didn't kill the ones who was like, man, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Only person that didn't get killed was Aaron. Aaron got spared. Aaron's supposed to die too, because he feared the people more than he feared God and made the calf for him. You know what I'm talking about? Because Aaron was shaking in his boots. Like this, because he knows he's supposed to die. We're going to continue in this 4th chapter as well. He said, let us therefore fear, lest the promise being left of us entering into his rest, any of you should seem to come short of it. So then we should have that fear, what we just read in 1 Corinthians 10, that we come short and don't get in. Because when he's talking about that rest, he's talking about entering into the land. You know what I'm saying? Which is, like he told Solomon, he would be a man of rest. That means peace. No wars, no strife, no envyings, no evil doings. When we enter into the land, we're going to be at rest. We're going to be at peace. Our enemies are going to serve us. See, they don't teach us these things. Same way we serving these people here in their land, what you think they're going to do when we go back to our land? You think we're going to be on even keel? No. The people going to work and till your land just like you've been working and tilling their land. Is that not just? You know what I'm saying? What's the problem with the people going to be tilling your land? You've been tilling theirs. If we would have never sinned in the first place, they'd been tilling your land anyway. It's a story about that. Gibeonites who were not Jews say, look here, man, we'll be you as a wood that draws water. They like, hey, I'll do that. Just don't kill it. Matter of fact, they came and lied like they came from a far distant place because they heard what our God had done did to these other people. And they like, well, we don't want no problems with them people. They got a power that we can't do nothing with. Man, we're going to bring some musty old bread and some old clothes and put that on, and man, look here, man, we will break up your rocks, and we will draw your water, and then people dwell in our land in peace and safety all their life. You know what I'm saying? Just like if this place was just, and every place was, hey man, you got some people who feel like even though how wicked this place is, man, they got their jobs, they able to take care of their family, you know what I'm saying, live their life, they happy here, they ain't got no problems. You're going to have some people of the other nation, they ain't going to have no problems. Look here, Mr. Dwight. I got your backyard ready. Crops will be ready in about 2-3 months. I'm going to go out here and tend to the goats, and I'll be back. You know what I'm saying? Ain't going to have no problem doing that. And we should look at that, but why would God do them like that? Shoot, he did us like that, and we his people. And we're going to read that. He said the curses that he put on us, he said he's going to put it right on our enemies. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to read that too. All this we're going to touch the Lord. All this stuff we're going to tie together. He said, but unto us was the gospel preached as well as unto them. But the word preached did not profit them, nor being mixed with the faith in them that heard it. Now he said the gospel was preached to them. So you know he wasn't talking about no death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah. So what was the gospel preached to them? It was the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. It was the promises of God that you're my people, and these are the things I'm going to do for you. The promises that I made to Abraham, the promise that I made to Isaac, the promise that I made to Israel. That's what he's talking about. And everybody, and we just read that. Who didn't believe the gospel? Those that didn't want to obey. Who believed it? Those that heard God's word and put their trust in him. So he said, for as which have believed do enter into rest, as he said, I have sworn in my wrath, and they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. So when you believe God's word and walk in it, you will enter into his rest. For he spake in a certain place of the 7th day on this wise, and God did rest the 7th day from all his works. And in this place again, if they shall enter into my rest. Seeing therefore it remains that some must enter therein, and they to whom it was first preached entered not in because of unbelief. Because as he told the people at that time, he said the law and the prophets was until John. So basically everybody was speaking of the coming of the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? And that was the gospel. You taught the law, and the prophets were prophesying of the Messiah. But when he came, the kingdom preached. Now it is death, burial, resurrection of the Messiah, Holy Ghost, everlasting life, kingdom of God, which is really pretty much the whole thing that was taught in the first half, just minus the Messiah and minus the everlasting life, because we were taught you obey God's word, you might live 70 years, and if you're lucky, you might live 80. You know what I'm talking about? Because he had cut man's time down from them living almost 1,000 years all the way down to 120. Then he cut it down from 120 all the way to 70. Does that mean everybody just skip 70 and clock out? No, because we know people that live past 70. But he said by reason of strength, maybe you'll get 80. But you can see at least with our people, many of our people don't live that long. You know what I'm saying? When they get 60-something, boy, they be looking to clock out of here. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that comes from our poor eating habits, whether we eating unclean foods or not. You know what I'm saying? Smoking and other factors. But you know, those are curses that fall into place. But that's neither here nor there for this particular thing. So he say again, he lived a certain day, saying, in David today, after so long time, as it said today, if you would hear his voice, harden not your hearts. For if Jesus had given them rest, then he would have not afterwards spoke of another day. This is actually supposed to be saying, Joshua. This is talking about Joshua, the son of Nun. If he would have gave them rest when we came in the land the first time, then he wouldn't have had to speak about what the master was coming to do. Because are we still in that rest? No. Because we're here in Jacksonville, Florida, having this conversation, and we're not in Jerusalem, coming up to be at the temple in Jerusalem to have a holy convocation. You know what I'm saying? We in Jacksonville doing it, so obviously you notice what he's talking about, that rest. So he says, so let us therefore labor, therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of unbelief. So then that means we got to work, because they tell you you ain't got to do nothing. Just believe in the Lord and you straight. You know what I'm saying? But your labor is to take up your cross and follow your Savior, to follow your Master, to follow your King and do what he did. And what was the work that he did? He worked the works of God and walked in holiness. So let's go to these examples of this stubborn, hard-headed people of ours. Let's look at Numbers. Where was all that? Let's look at Numbers, the 14th chapter. Let's see. Don't make no mistake about it, boy. Ain't nobody more hard-headed than Hebrews. We won't touch all of them. There's a lot of stuff. And I ain't gonna do y'all like that. Because we do it all night. Numbers 14 and 1. It said, the congregation lifted up their voice. Matter of fact, back up to the 13th chapter. That'd be better, because it's going to lead in the Sunday. We'll start down at about verse 20. He said, and what the land is, whether it be fat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not, be ye of good courage, and bring the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. So they went up and searched the land from the wildernesses in unto Rehob as men come to Hamath. So you see this first thing that they talk about, they tell them to be of good courage. Because we know that what? The joy of Yah is your strength. That Yah is everlasting strength. So when you put your trust in the Father, this is where your courage is going to derive from. You understand? So therefore what's going to happen? You ain't going to fear what man going to do unto you. But we're going to see about that example, that evil heart of unbelief. Drop down to verse 26. Or 25. He said they returned from searching of the land after 40 days. So what they were doing is they were going through the land, spying it out. And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel unto the wilderness of Paran the Kadesh, and brought back word unto them and to all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him, and we said, come to the land whither thou sent us, surely it flow with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. He said, nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. Children of Anak were giants. So now you see how these people, we got to live in God with us. But what's the first thing he want to mention? Man, the people are strong. The giants in there. And the people are going to begin to fear and become discouraged. So let's look at verse 30. So nevertheless, 29, by the way. He said, the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains. And the Canaanites dwell by the sea and the coast of Jordan. And Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and possess it, for we are able to overcome it. So you hear Caleb. Caleb's like, all right, man, I hear you. Let's go get them, though. You know what I'm saying? We can overcome them and possess it, because he's understanding. He said, the battle is not yours, the battle is yours. He is the one who goes before the camp to fight for you. You understand? So he's telling them, man, screw them people. Let's go get it. He said, but the men that went up with him said, we be not be able to go up against this people, for they are stronger than we. So what is that? Is that not an evil heart of unbelief? Because they don't trust in the living God. So this is an example of a mind that we should not have. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is the land that eat up the inhabitants thereof, and all the people that we saw in it are men of great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, who come of the giants, and we are in our own sight as grasshoppers, so are we were in their sight. So they're scared. You know what I'm saying? They're scared. They don't want to go up in the land. They're scared. So as we keep on reading, and all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And the children of Israel murmured. So we remember that in 1 Corinthians 10, he said not to murmur against Moses and against Aaron. The whole congregation said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or God would have died in this wilderness? Or would God we had died in this wilderness? So listen to these people. This man just delivered you from a place where you were in captivity for 430 years. Smoked these people with flies, locusts, frogs, hail, killed their firstborn, and they like this here, man, we should die in the wilderness. Because you seen some giants. Now, don't you think if this man had the ability to kill the firstborn, man and beast, he could take out some giants? So we have to sit there and think about that when we go in the wilderness this time. Will there be battles that we may have to fight? And will you be timid? Well, I mean, y'all ain't gonna fight. You know what I'm talking about? But is men gonna be timid and be like, oh man, we gonna die? Or could it be a woman in a man's ear like, y'all ain't gonna be able to beat these people. They gonna kill y'all. You know what I'm saying? And God is hearing all these things, and you know the thoughts of every man's heart. That's why the people crying, because they thinking they ain't gonna be able to receive the possession. And he said, wherefore have y'all brought unto us this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be prey? Were it not better for us to return unto Egypt? So these people want to be slaves. Instead of going up and being strong and having courage in God to stand and fight, knowing that it's He that fights for you, they say it's better for us if we just go be slaves and go get brick and mortar and build pyramids all day. So he says, then Moses and Aaron fell on their faces before all the assembly of the congregation of the children of Israel, and Joshua the son of Nun, and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which was them searched the land, rent their clothes, and spake unto all company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceedingly good land. If Yah delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only rebel not ye against Yah, neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them. Yah is with us, fear them not. So this is what they're trying to do, what? Rebuild the courage of the people to trust God. He said, these people bread for us. And what is bread for us? For your nourishment, ain't it? So these people bread for us. They land, they wealth, everything they got, that's for us. What you worry about these people for? He already gave us in the law the ways how to, we just dealing with Wednesday. How to dictate to what to do when they get in there and go to war with these people. They already, just like the military got a code of military justice and rules of engagement, we do too. Certain things we can't do and certain things we can do. They know what to do, they just was cowards. He said, but all the congregation, they stoned them with stones. And the glory of Yah appeared in the tabernacle of congregation before all the children of Israel. So you see this here, they were ready to stone these men for telling them not to fear these people and to put their trust in God. That's shameful. Yah said unto Moses, how long will this people provoke me? How long will it be ere they believe me for all the signs which I showed among them? You want to know how long it's going to take these people to believe? I done showed all these things, you still don't believe it. Now that's a heavy thing. They got signs, wonders, and the word, and still didn't believe it. You got to sit there and think of that, ponder that, and let that sink into your brain. They got signs, wonders, and the word. Even heard his voice on Mount Sinai. Now, still don't believe it. He said, I will smite them with pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of thee a greater nation, mightier than they. And Moses said unto Yah, then the Egyptians shall hear it, for thou brought up this people in thy might from among them. And they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that thou, Yah, art among this people, and that Yah art seen face to face, and that thy cloud stand over them, and that thou go before them by daytime in a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire by night. Now thou shalt kill all this people as one man. You see that there was that one man, kill him as one man. You see what that's taking it to. You should know. That's talking about the body of the Messiah. Right then. Remember he said in Nehemiah, the people came up as one man. You know what I'm saying? Because that was giving an allusion to that. But he said, I'm going to kill all y'all. Moses is pleading with him, don't do it, because then what? The Gentiles going to blaspheme and profane your name. You know what I'm saying? Which they're doing right now because we don't walk in His word. And he says, because y'all was not able to bring this people into the land which he swore unto them, therefore he hath slain them in the wilderness. Drop down to verse 21. Well, verse 19. Well, verse 18, because you got to hear this here, because a lot of people, we dealt with this a while, a few months back. We'll probably bring it back again soon if the Lord permits. A lot of people think grace and mercy just came about in the New Testament, but it's always been that. And we're going to see that. Now listen to what he says. Yah is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression,
and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. The Father's always shown mercy. He just said that. Now, I'm patient and I forgive sin. I just don't clear you for your guilt. You're not going to get back for what you did and just think it's not going to be a punishment for it. He said, pardon not to cease the iniquity of this people according to the greatness of thy mercy, and as thou hast forgiven this people from Egypt even till now. And Yah said, I have pardoned according to thy word. So this is showing again how Moses was an intercessor. What was he doing? He was pleading for the people, making intercession on behalf of the people. That's why he said a prophet like unto Moses, because the master do the same thing. He abides in the holy tabernacle forever, making intercession for the people. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody can just go straight to the Most High. Those that don't believe in the Messiah, they just think they can just go straight to the Most High, knowing that that goes against the law. You know what I'm saying? When you read the law, you couldn't go straight to the altar and make a sacrifice. You had to go holler at the high priest, and then he went and made intercession for you. You know what I'm talking about? That's just show how people have total lack of understanding, total disbelief of the word, and just want to serve God how they want to serve God, but then have the nerve, gall, and audacity to revile and rail on those in the Christian church. You know what I'm saying? When you just as stupid as they is. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if you have knowledge of the word, and then you trying to bring it to somebody, and then they just willfully reject it. You know what I'm saying? That person is stupid. It's a difference when you're ignorant. Because all of us ignorant on a matter, even to this day. All of us have been ignorant on something. Shoot, little mother ignorant. She's just a baby. Things she doesn't know. You know what I'm talking about? So there's nothing shamed about being ignorant. The shame is, do you want to be willfully ignorant? Do you want to stay ignorant? There's nothing wrong with being ignorant. It just means you don't know. That's a simple thing. People take that word ignorant and make it seem like it's derogatory. Look here, man, somebody come talking to me about car mechanics, man, nigga, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, straight up, I know nothing about that. I can't have a discussion with you on those matters. I'm ignorant of that topic. Do I want to learn about it? Truthfully? No. You know what I'm talking about? But I'll sit down and listen to you, but I really don't care. I'm not going to be fixing no cars. You know what I'm talking about? But when it comes to the word, though, and you can perceive that the word of God is in this man's mouth, and he's telling you something that you don't know, then it would behoove you to learn of it. Most of those are people who know we Israelites. They know these people in the Christian church are ignorant and they don't know, but they rather mock them, but yet they in the same stupidity that them people in. They dealing with the same thing and folly that they dealing with. They just think it's better because, you know, you're Hebrew. That don't make it no better. An idiot's an idiot. A fool is a fool. You know what I'm talking about? Because you know you're an Israelite, you a better fool? No, you can't go for that. Nevertheless, verse 21. He said, but truly, as I live. Anytime you see as I live in this book, this is the Father swearing on his name. You know what I'm talking about? So when he's swearing on his name, guess what that means? You can stand back, you can take that check to the bank. It's not going to be. All the earth shall be filled with the glory of Yah. And when will that day come? When you see lightning, as the lightning go from the east to the west, as the appearing of the Son of Man going to be. Because all the earth going to be filled with Yah's glory on that day. You know what I'm talking about? Because everybody going to see him. Everybody going to know it's him. And they going to wail and holler because of him. And then he will put his foot down on the Mount of Olives and begin to cleanse his work of all iniquity and ungodliness and gather up his wheat into the barn and gather up his children and bring them back and set them in that holy place in Jerusalem. He said, but because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. So they said, you heard what he said? They tried me not 1 time, not 2 times, 10 times. Now can you imagine you done something for somebody, you know what I'm talking about? Marvelous and wonderful works. Suffer them to try you 10 times. They ain't listen to nothing what you say. You'll be pretty peeved at that point, would you not? So now you can imagine how he felt. This is why we being warned in Hebrews 3 and Psalm 95 and 1 Corinthians 10 not to fall after these works. He say, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoke me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with them, and have followed me fully, him will I bring into the land wherein he went, and his seed shall possess it. Verse 27. How long shall I bear with this evil congregation which murmur against me? I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel, which they murmur against me. Say unto them, as truly as I live, saith Yah, as you have spoken in my ears, so will I do to you. So what did they speak in his ears? It was better for us to die in the land of Egypt, right? So listen to what he said. Your carcasses shall fall in this wilderness, all that were numbered of you, according to your whole number, from 20 years old and upward, which have murmured against me. Because age 20 is the age of accountability. You know what I'm talking about? Does that not mean that he won't kill children? Absolutely not, because we know with Elisha, he kills the children. You know what I'm saying? For mocking him. And he'll also, that be the sins of the father, visiting the children, that he say he punished to the third and fourth generation. You can do something, but well, okay, your punishment with, he'll kill your children after you. You know what I'm talking about? Because he told Ahab, I'm going to kill everybody that pisses against the wall. I'm going to kill every male seed in your line so your family is extinguished. Because he did a grave injustice before his eyesight. You know what I'm talking about? But age 20 is the age of accountability. He said, doubtless you shall not come into the land concerning which I swear unto you to make you dwell therein, said Caleb the son of Jephunneh and Joshua the son of Nun. But your little ones, which you said should be a prey, them will I bring in, and they shall know the land which you have despised. But as for you, your carcasses shall fall into the wilderness. And your children shall wander in the wilderness 40 years, and bear your whoredoms until your carcasses be wasted in the wilderness. And the number of days in which you search the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall you bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. Y'all have said, I will surely do it unto all this evil congregation they have gathered together against me in the wilderness. They shall be consumed, and there shall they die. So the reason that now you know why he told why we were in the wilderness 40 years. So we were searching out the land for 40 days. So for each year, y'all gonna stay here, and all y'all that rebel, you gonna die here. Now, are we gonna be in the wilderness 40 years this next time? No. But everybody that rebelled against it, guess what? That's where you're dying at, and you're not gonna get in the land. And it's a precursor. I know movie, so this is a lot of information. And you want to touch most of it. You ain't gonna touch all of it. Let's go to Exodus 13. We're gonna start verse 2. Because this would be a blessed thing if we even be alive to even go to the wilderness. You know what I'm saying? Much less. I'm talking about on the first go around to be there in safety. But much less be alive when it's like, okay, I done gathered y'all up. Which we ain't gonna touch every example, but we'll be here all night. But we just want to touch on here. Sanctify unto thee all the firstborn whatsoever opened the womb among the children of Israel, both man and beast in his mind. So sanctify means to set apart. So we know who this is referring to. The Messiah. Because we already just read about what he said, Israel was my firstborn. I called my son out of Egypt. The reason why he told him to set apart all the firstborn males, because he killed all the firstborn males in Egypt. So he's saying set those firstborns apart because they mine. Because who's the one that is? Yahshua, Jesus is, because he's the only begotten of the Father, the firstborn of all creation, the firstborn from the dead, the first one born with the Holy, all of these things. You understand what I'm saying? He's the first one of everything. Look at verse 1. He said, thou shalt set apart unto Yah all that open the matrix, and every firstling that come of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be Yah's. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. And if thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break his neck, and all the firstborn of man amongst thy children shalt thou redeem. So when he's talking about redeeming with a lamb, who we talking about again? The Lamb of God. That's what John called him. He said, they go to the Lamb of God to take away the sins of the world. We know the Passover, you had to get what? A firstborn lamb without blemish. You know what I'm talking about? And he said to redeem your sons, you got to bring what? You got to bring a lamb. You know what I'm talking about? And that lamb, so if you want to be redeemed, what you got to bring? You got to bring the Lamb of God. You got to bring Yahshua, because how did he redeem you? He said you've been redeemed with the precious blood of the Lamb without spot or blemish. You know what I'm talking about? You sold yourselves for naught, but you'll be redeemed without money. That redemption is with the blood of the Lamb. So this is how we get brought back to God. Look at verse 21. And this is going back, and you're going to hear that again. You heard him mention this here. But I want y'all to remember this here, because this same sad thing going to happen again. He said, Yah went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. And he took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. So he said he went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them in the way. And who is the way? Yahshua is the way. That way is holiness. And he said he gave them light in darkness. And who is the light of the world? This is Yahshua, so this is who was leading them, and who's the same one that's going to lead us when he come and bring us up out of here. Look at Exodus 14. We ain't going to read all of this here, because it's a long time. But really, we ain't gonna just read it. You can read it on your own time. But what this chapter is dealing with is when he drowned Pharaoh's army in the sea. You know what I'm talking about? This was the baptism in the water. And we're going to read again in prophecy that he's going to do this very same thing again. Because I can believe that everybody's familiar with that from, if you see, I've never watched a movie with Charlton Heston in it. You know what I'm talking about? But you know, he drowned Pharaoh's army. If you put in Pharaoh's chariot wheels in the Red Sea, you will find that they know where we crossed at. It's a 5,000-mile land bridge outside of Egypt. And at the bottom of it are gold chariot wheels from Pharaoh that date back to that time period. Come to the court. Go ahead and put it.
No.
I see that because I heard you type it. You know what I'm saying? But for real, you can put on there Pharaoh's, the Egyptian Pharaoh chariot wheels at the bottom of the Red Sea. They know where we crossed at. They know that this happened. A 5,000-mile land bridge. This is no exaggeration. You can find the 12 pillars that he told Moses to make. They know where it's at, and we're going to deal with that rock in a minute. That he told Moses to speak to, and that he struck with the staff. They know where that's at. You know what I'm saying? All these things bearing witness to the testimony of the word. Oh, you looking at it right now? Mm-hmm. You see it. Let them see it. Let them see it. So you can see, like, this is all logical proof. This real talk. This real stuff. Y'all see that? Y'all see the wheel at the bottom? You see that cord roll on? You know cord, it take a long time for that cord to get in there. That stuff lock in, you can't get that out of there. When we get done, I'll show you the 12 pillars, because I can't remember the name of the video, but if people been here, and I'll show you the rock, because it show you the rock, and guess how that rock split? Right down the middle. And it's a whole gang of other rocks with it, and the archaeologists, how you say it? Yeah, because my mind and my tongue fluttering right now. He stood in front of it and was like this here. He said, look at this, man, look at the water erosion on this rocks. He said, that wasn't no trick. Because you got to remember, it said we came out of Egypt 600,000 strong, not counting women and children. So you know full well, it had to be a lot of water to feed, to drink, to get these people thirst. You know what I'm saying? That man said, boy, that wasn't no trick. See, they don't want you to know about these things, because guess what's going to happen? You're going to fear God and keep his commandments. You're going to put your trust and your hope in his word. You know what? You read it, but then if you had the money, you could fly out there and, well, I don't need that, go to rock. Now, if you're looking at that rock and the book telling you this and you seeing this, what that's telling you? I'm going to hell. You know what I'm saying? And if I ain't obeying his word, I'm going to hell. If you obeying it, you rejoice into the heavens. People on the eastern hemisphere, on the western hemisphere, going to hear you hollering. You know what I'm saying? Because that's a joyful thing. Like, I didn't need to see that to believe it. I believe it because he said it. You know what I'm saying? So for me to see it, that just make it even stronger that this book true. It just was an article in the paper talking about people who now they say they don't believe it. They say it's quite obvious this book is a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale to you. Ain't no fairy tale to me. Because this man said my people going on slave ships and they going to be sold as slaves. They going to be forever oppressed. Go to their enemies in hunger, thirst, and nakedness. Be snared in holes, hid in prison houses. Their enemies going to be their head. They going to be the tail. They going to suffer everywhere they go. That ain't no fairy tale to me. I'm living that. You know what I'm talking about? It's a fairy tale to you because them curses ain't falling on you. They falling on me though. Ain't nobody never hung you from no tree and beat your wife's stomach till her fetus fell out and then crashed his head open. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody never took your children from before your face and sold them as slaves and you had no power to do anything about it. Nobody ever sucked no dogs on you. Ain't nobody ever sprayed you with no water hole because you wanted to sit down and take a dump on the same toilet you dumping on. You know what I'm saying? Like for real. And he said, not those specifics, but he said all these things will happen to you. He said any plague that's not written in his book, I'm going to put it on you. So now I look at my people. We the only ones got sickle cell. We got the highest rate of AIDS, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, anything negative you can think of, we number one in it. That man said, if it ain't written in here, I'm going to put it on you. You know what I'm saying? I'm living that. This man said, I'm going to make your enemies the head and you going to be the tail. I can't go to no black man and say, look here, man, can I get your sneakers? I ain't talking about, I'm going to buy some Jordan. Them ain't his shoes. Phil Knight own them shoes. That man don't own no manufacturing companies. He don't own none of that. You go to a manufacturing company in China that's making Jordans, they getting paid by Nike. Nike set that up. Michael Jordan didn't set up nothing. He don't even own the logo. That's Nike's property. You know what I'm saying? He ain't nothing but a subsidiary like, shoot, maybe all these companies done merge these days. It's hard to break it down. Like with BET or MTV and VH1, they're subsidiaries of Viacom. Viacom owns all three of them. You know what I'm talking about? Don't no black man own BET. That man sold that a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Oprah Winfrey is a better case. That own network, she don't own that. That's through the Discovery Channel. You know what I'm talking about? She don't own that. She still got to go answer to the slave master. She can't say, look here, I'm standing on my own in my network. That's why I say, I'll give you one, but my name won't be on it. Because God's word going to be true. You're not going to be ahead of these people and nothing. Niggas brag about money, you don't even print it. So if you don't print it, that means you don't control it. So how you going to boast and brag about something you don't even control? You know what I'm talking about? We have to sit there and look at that. I don't want to be somewhere where I don't control something. You know what I'm saying? Because that means this is not my land. But that's neither here nor there. We're getting off track. Where we at? Look at Exodus 15 though, and we're going to roll that verse 2. So like I said, you know, we'll look at verse 8. Now we say the previous chapter, he drowned them all. But look at matter of fact, look at verse 2. Because this is what we got to remember. This is what's going to happen. I'm going to read verse 1 because I really like this here. And this is mentioned, I can't remember where it's mentioned in Revelation about they will sing the song of Moses. This is the song of Moses that they talk about. Do you hear what I say? You know what that verse is?
No.
Well, I'm just letting you know. I think I want to say Revelation 15. But I'm not 100% accurate at the present time. I want to say, let me just check, let's make sure, see if my memory is good. We ain't going to read it. That's what I thought. I want to say Revelation 15. It says, and they sung the song of Moses. So let's hear the song of Moses. Because guess what? You're going to sing the same song again now if you count it working. He said, and then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto Yah, and spake, saying, I will sing unto Yah, for he have triumphed gloriously. The horse and the rider have he thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my God. I will prepare him a habitation. My father's God, I will exalt him. So when he said, I'm going to prepare him a habitation, he talked about your body. Because he said that I will dwell in them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. Know ye not that ye are the temple of the living God, and that he dwell in you? So this is how you prepare him a habitation. You're going to make your body a living sacrifice, an acceptable place for him to dwell. He said, Yah is a man of war, Yah is his name. Did you hear that now? He said, boy, your God is a man of war. They don't teach us this here. They don't tell us about these type of things. You know what I'm saying? But he's a man of war. That's how he does things. That's how he operates. He's going to come and wage war with these people. Pharaoh's chariots and his host he has cast in the sea. His chosen captains are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They sank into the bottom as a stone. How will you be also? And you just seen that, right, with his wheels. So you just seen the book say he drowned in the water to the depth of it like a stone. You just bear witness that the word of God is true. He says, thy right hand, O Yah, has become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Yah, has dashed in pieces the enemy. Who is the right hand of Yah? That is Yahshua, because he said that in Isaiah 59, I'll make bare my right arm and bring salvation unto me. You know what I'm talking about? Talking about the master. And he said, in the greatness of thy excellency, thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sent forth thy wrath, which consumed them as a stubble. So we know, what is he coming to judge the world with the second time? Fire. He said, our Yah will plead with all flesh, with fire and my sword, and the slain of Yah shall be many. And what does he say? Where we at? And he said, with the blast of thy nostrils, the waters were gathered together, the flood stood upright as a heap, and the depths will congeal in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. Thou didst blow with thy wind, the sea covered them, they sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like unto thee, O Yah, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? Like straight up, now asking yourself that question, who is like unto Yah? Because all the gods that the nations serve, they ain't nothing but idols. They have eyes, but they see not. They have ears, but they hear not. They have nostrils, yet they take in no breath. They have mouths, yet they cannot speak, nor can they say. You know what I'm saying? That's whether if you're dealing with Christianity, because they're not following this book. Christianity is following Satan. You know what I'm talking about? Because they worshiping the sun god. Do they know they worshiping the sun god? Mass majority of them do not know that they're participating in Babylonian pagan sun worship, because every church in America ain't nothing but the daughter of the great harlot. Because their doctrines come from the Roman Catholic Church, who established Christianity in the present form that we know it at this time. You know what I'm saying? You participate in Sunday worship, where you got that from? You participate in Easter or Christmas, where did you get that from? That's got to go back to that whore, no. You know what I'm talking about? That's where that came from. See, a lot of people don't want to hear that because you've been doing tradition and you taking it as an attack on yourself. Don't take it as an attack on yourself. Take it as an attack on these people are evil who gave you what they told you was the book. When you sit back and you see what you're teaching me and what you're preaching does not line up with what's written in this book. So if it don't line up with what's written in this book, what can we ascertain? Somebody lying. And we know the book ain't lying, so you lying. You know what I'm talking about? So if you lying, then I got to step back and say, you know what? I'm going to stop dealing with you, and I'm just going to seek the Father and be like, look here, I want to be saved. I want to enter your kingdom. I want to live forever. I don't want your wrath. Please, out of the bowels of mercy that dwell within you for your great name's sake, send me your word and your truth so I can obey it and do it. You know what I'm talking about? Because if you're dealing with these Sunday churches, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Because he's going to come up on you and he's going to tell you, I never knew you work of iniquity, depart from me. Those are the worst words that any human being could hear in their life. When the man who you believe was your Savior look you in your face and tell you, man, I don't know you. Or when you go to knocking on the door, man, who you is, man, where you come from, why you knocking on my door? Get away from him. I don't know who you are. Who let this man up to my door? You know what I'm saying? You got to really sit and think about that. Because they don't tell us that you can serve God in vain. You can serve for nothing. There are millions upon millions of people just partook in Ash Wednesday, getting ready to partake in Lent, don't know they worshiping another God, they serving him in vain. They don't know it, they think they're doing what's right. Got a whole gang of people finna get ready to celebrate Easter, you're serving another God, don't even know it. That's a sad thing to see people, they think they're doing what's correct. They don't know they're going to hell. That sucks. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them, when you come show them plainly, this is what it is, man, I don't want to hear that. Well, guess what? Now you can go to hell on the express trip. You know what I'm talking about? Because you done rejected the word. You didn't reject me. This is what the book said. I told you this because I love you. I didn't tell you this because I'm like, ooh. No, I didn't participate in none of them things anyway. You know what I'm talking about? I wasn't big on Easter. My mom ain't never did that. Man, I don't even remember going to church on Easter in my life. You know what I'm saying? I seen pictures of me as a child, but I said, I don't remember. So that means, you know, I was mighty, mighty young when we did it because I don't remember it. You know what I'm saying? I can remember all the way up to 1985. I don't never remember going to church there. I didn't give a damn about Christmas. It was free toys. You know what I'm talking about? I ain't studying no Santa Claus or no Jesus' birthday. I don't know nothing about this here. Just let me get them rest of them in. I need that in my life. You know what I'm saying? If you don't get it for me, I might go to Big and Save and steal them. You know what I'm talking about? Because that's how I was living at the time. You don't want to buy it? I go in there and steal it. I don't lie to you. I was living a little longer at that time. Verse 13. Verse 12. Thou stretched out thy right hand, the earth swallowed them. Thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in the strength unto thy holy habitation. So remember, how were we redeemed this time? You put the blood of that Passover lamb on your front door. Now you got to have the blood of the Passover lamb on the doorpost of your front door, which is on your heart and on your soul. You know what I'm talking about? And you'll be redeemed. You see this correlation of all this stuff? Point to this man, talk about this man, whole book about this man, and you got people who read certain things. Some things are harder to see than others. You know what I'm talking about? Some things even just on just a little bit of spiritual sense, you can see it. But nevertheless, drop down to verse 15 or 16. He say, fear and dread shall fall upon them by the greatness of thy arm. They shall be still as a stone till thy people pass over, O God, till thy people pass over, which thou hast purchased. Thou shalt bring them in and plant them in the mountain of thy inheritance, in the place, O Yah, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Yah, which thy hands have established. So this is a twofold thing, because we know who is the sanctuary, who's the house of God. We just read it. That's the dwelling of the Messiah. The Messiah dwell in you. So if you dwell in the Messiah, you dwell in what? You dwell in the house of God. And then he's talking about that sanctuary in Jerusalem. You know what I'm talking about? And how he purchased us and he redeemed us out of the hands of our enemies then. And he's going to purchase us. Well, he's already did it 2,000 years ago. He's purchased us and redeemed us that we may leave the land of our enemies and dwell in our land. That's in Luke 1:68 verses to 80. You can read that on your own time. Let's look at Exodus 16. We're going to just read about some of the stuff they were doing. We ain't going to read everything. Matter of fact, we just going to get on straight onto the people of the matter. Look at verse 8. And Moses said, this shall be when Yah shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, in the morning bread to the food, for that Yah have heard your murmurings which you murmur against him. And what are ye? And what are we, your murmurings, are not against us, but against God. This is what people got to understand. When you take it off on a man who's teaching God's word or doing what God telling him, you're not speaking against that man. You're speaking against God. How do we know this? Paul wrote this here. He that despiseth not man, but God. Because he's given unto us his Holy Spirit. The Master said, he that received you, received me. And he that received me, received him that sent me. So if you despise the man who came, you despise the Master, which means you despise the Father. Because all they're doing is ambassadors or stewards. They're speaking in the stead of the Father. What the Father tell the Master to say, the Master tell that man to say, that man tell the people. You know what I'm talking about? Same protocol, same order, ain't nothing changed. And what they was whining about is they didn't have nothing to eat. You know what I'm saying? And then they got the manna from heaven. And guess what they did after that? They went to whining about that. And then he said, we want some flesh to eat. So he said, you know what? I'm not going to give you flesh just for 5 days or 10 days. I'm going to give you flesh for 30 days. And you're going to eat it till you're vomiting and then come out your nose. And then after that, he proceeded to kill. You know what I'm talking about? Like straight up and down. Matter of fact, hold it. I think it's Numbers 15 if I'm not mistaken. Shoot, I'd kill them too. You can't be blessing people like that, man, and they sign you like that, man. No, that's not Numbers 15. I can't remember where that's at. It's been a while since I looked at it. But if you want to, dig it out and search it out for yourself. But it's in there. They went to crying for some meat. He said, I'm going to give you meat for about 30 days. And you don't probably where it cause a child always crying about they want some, I'm hungry. And mom do like this, and nigga, you going to eat every bit of it, even if you got to throw it up and eat it again. You know what I'm talking about? I know it's that, bro. You don't mean literally, but you know what I'm talking about. You're going to eat it till you feel like you're going to throw up and it's going to come out your nose. Since you complaining you're so hungry. You know what I'm talking about? Because you know how niggas is. Niggas get over dramatic. Oh, I'm finna starve. You ain't there, but you know what I'm talking about? Oh, I ain't got nothing to eat. I'm thirsty. I'm going to die of thirst. You ain't had nothing to drink in 2 hours. You act like you're going to dehydrate and then will up and die. You know what I'm saying? But you know how we can get, man. That's real talk. Y'all know it, man. This is what he said in verse 9. He said, Moses spake unto Aaron, say unto all the congregation of children of Israel, come near before Yahweh, for ye have heard your murmuring. And it came to pass as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of Israel, that they looked towards the wilderness, and behold, the glory of Yah appeared in the cloud, and Yah spake unto Moses, saying, I thought it was right there. Oh yeah, it is. I think we was right in the whole time. And I heard the murmurs of the saying, at even ye shall eat flesh, and in the morning ye shall be filled with bread, and ye shall know that I am Yah your God. And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay around about the host. And when the dew that was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as the small as the hair frost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said one to another, it is manna. For they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, this is the bread which I have given you to eat. And again, this is time back to who? The Messiah. So he said, your fathers ate manna in the wilderness and are dead. But he said, but I come to give you that true bread from heaven. This was all showing you what he told you in Deuteronomy 8. A man doesn't live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out the mouth of God. So again, when he was dropping that manna, what they call angel's food, you know what I'm saying, in another spot, this was dealing with the master. Coming to give you that true bread that gives life, but that manna didn't give him no life. But that bread that came down from heaven, that came to give you life. That's why he said, he that eateth my flesh and drinketh my blood, he said, my flesh is meat indeed. You know what I'm talking about? Because this is the meat that labors the everlasting life. And he says, this is the thing which I commanded, gathered every man according to his eating. No, that's it. We're going to leave that in. Because that's when they were complaining they were hungry, and they ain't getting no manna. Now let's drop down here to the 17th chapter of Exodus. We just going to skim these some of these things. We ain't going to read everything. I said we'll be here all night. And he said, and all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of sin after their journeys according to the commandment of Yah, pitched in Rephidim, and there was no water for the people to drink. Wherefore the people did chide with Moses and said, give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, why ye chide you with me? Wherefore do you tempt Yah? And he said this again In Deuteronomy 6, about 15 and 16, he says, do not tempt y'all thy God like you tempt them in Massah. Because you can see repeatedly, and we didn't even touch all of them, how they repeatedly tried the Most High. Repeatedly. You know what I'm talking about? And felt like they were justified. Like they talking to Moses. No, we want too hard. We want this here. And you know, you can understand why he got upset from time to time. Can you imagine dealing with people that are trying you like this here 24/7, 365? Sit there and think about that. You're going to be like this here, man, I'm going to take this table of stone and I'm going to start cracking these things. You know what I'm talking about? Like straight up. And I can feel them too. That's why you got a lot of people, they don't want to deal with it and have that position or be in that position, because you got to be over these people. But what did it say about Moses? He was faithful in his house, even at the stubbornness and disobedience of his people. And the people thirsted there for water. The people murmured against Moses and said, wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? And Moses cried unto y'all, saying, what shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. Now they ready to stone him, and guess who else they wanted to stone? Didn't there many times we can read in the Gospels where they picked up rocks to stone this man? And he came for their benefit. He came telling them the truth and showing them the mighty works of God, and they wanted to stone him too. He's saying, y'all said unto Moses, go on before the people and take with thee the elders of the children of Israel, and thy rod where thou smote the river, and take in thy hand and go. And behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. Listen what he said. He said, go to the rock. Who is the rock? Ain't y'all sure the rock? Didn't he say that spiritual rock was the Messiah? What we dealt with last week. He said, if any man believe on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. And what is he telling him to smite the rock for the rock to come out of? To get that water. And what you need to live, right? You need water, right? So if you smite the rock the second time, what you gonna get? You gonna get rivers of living water. Didn't he say he was that precious stone, a tried cornerstone? You see how they're talking about this man? We tell him to spike the rock and water gonna come out, and he's the rock of Israel, and out of him come living waters. Let's look about that rock of Israel. Go to Deuteronomy 32. Hold this here. We're gonna come back. Because we got to look at that. Because we know what it says in John 1. It says in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and that He made the world, and the world was made by Him, and nothing was made that was made except by Him. So when we look at Deuteronomy 32 and 3, it says, because I will publish the name of Yah, ascribe ye greatness unto our God. He is the rock. His work is perfect. For all His ways are judgment of God are true. Without iniquity, just and right is He. Is not Yahshua our rock? Then He said, if any man hear my words, I liken to a man who built his house on a rock. You know what I'm talking about? That means you built yourself up on that tried cornerstone. That means you put your lively stone and you built it upon that cornerstone. That means how the wind gonna push you away, you're not gonna be confounded. Then he say his work is perfect. Then he say because he obeyed, he was made perfect to be the captain and author of salvation to all those that obey him. And he also is the law, which is the truth, and the law is perfect, and he also is the way, and the way is perfect. You know what I'm talking about? And he say all his ways are judgment. He's a God of truth, which we just dealt with, and he was without iniquity, just and right as He. And he said that in Isaiah 11, that He'll come and be just. Of course, we know He had no sin, because you can't even give the Father no sacrifice with no blemish in it. Drop down about, what are we going to get in the same very same chapter? Verse 15. Because this is what the people did. He says, but Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked, thou art waxed fat, thou art grown thick, thou art covered with fatness, that he forsook God which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. And Yahshua in Hebrew means Yah's salvation. So that's what the people did. They lightly esteemed the Father's salvation, which is that rock. Verse 18, and of the rock that begat thee, thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten the God that formed thee. And this is what our people have done then, and we do it now. Look at Psalm 92. About verse 12. The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree, he shall grow like a cedar in Lebanon. Those that be planted in the house of God shall flourish in the courts of our God. They shall bring forth fruit in old age. They shall be fat and flourishing to show that Yah is upright. He is my rock, and there is no unrighteousness in him. And we always got to remember this, and that's hallelujah for Yahshua as far as is pertaining to this right here. As you see that works in with what we dealt with last week with them living waters. That you can see that the whole book is about this man. Even the spots when we don't think it's talking about him. It's talking about him. And we'll look at another one where you can see it's talking about him. Look at Exodus 34. We're going to come back to Exodus 17 in this one. Because we're going to speed this up and get to the wilderness part. So, where do we want to start with that? Exodus 33. Yeah, Exodus 33. That's where we're going for it. And about verse 24. See that? Is it not right now? Exodus 33. Oh my God. Exodus 33 and about verse 19. He said, I will make all my goodness pass before thee, and I will proclaim the name of Yah before thee, and will be gracious unto whom I will be gracious, and will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. And he said, Thou canst not see my face, for there shall no man see me and live. And Yah said, Behold, there is a place by me, thou shalt stand upon a rock. Thou shalt stand upon Yahshua. And it shall come to pass that with my glory pass by, that I will put thee in the cleft of the rock, and will cover thee with my hand while I pass by. And I will take away my hand, and thou shalt see my back part, but my face shall not be seen. So what is that dealing with? That's dealing with Yahshua again. So I'm taking him and hiding in that rock. That rock going to be your covering. You know what I'm saying? We always have to remember that though, because Yahshua is the rock. Then we read that in 1 Corinthians 10. So this is how we know this. So going back to Exodus 17. He said, Behold, well, we read verse 6. And he called the place of the name Massah and Meribah because of the chiding of the children of Israel, because they tempted Yah, saying, Is Yah among us or not? Ain't that funny though? They're going to sit here and say, Is this man with us or not? And that's a sad and shameful thing. So let's look at Exodus 32 and we'll read about the golden calf. Look at verse 1. Themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods which shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what has become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives and of your sons and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fastened it with a graving tool. And after he made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Truly the Father has been justified, killing everybody right where they stood, right here. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Look at verse 7. And he said, not only this here, look at what he said. And Aaron saw it. He built an altar before it. Aaron made a proclamation and said, Today is the feast of Yah. So not only did Aaron make it, then he told him, Man, look here, we going to feast. And they rose up early on the morning, offered burnt offerings and peace offerings, and the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. So that's going back to what we read, what Paul was quoting. So then you see this here, they made a feast to an idol, and then made offerings and sacrifices to the idol. That's heavy. Now as we read here, we in 32, so guess what happened? The covenant has been made. The laws and statutes have began to be given. They knew not to serve another God and to make idols. Yah said unto Moses, Go, get thee down, for thy people which thou brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made a molten calf and have worshipped it. They have sacrificed thereunto, and said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. And Yah said unto Moses, I have seen this people. Behold, it is a stiff-necked people. And that it is. Drop down to verse 19. No, verse 15. Because now it done came on that he told him he was going to kill him again, and Moses pleaded for the people, and he spared us again. Moses turned and went down from the mountain. The 2 tables of the testimony were in his hand. The tables were written on both of their sides, and on the one side and on the other they were written. Now you see, it's got testimony, the letter T there in capital letters, right? Because who else is the testimony? Yahshua is the testimony because he's the word. Because it says the testimony of Yahshua is the spirit of prophecy. You know what I'm talking about? And the testimony was put in the ark of the covenant. You know what I'm talking about? And now the testimony, which is the word, which is Yahshua, is put in your ark, in your heart. You know what I'm talking about? That's why I tell you in Jeremiah 3, we won't visit it no more. No even come to it, no even speak it. What's the point when the ark of the covenant is going to be before your face and the personage live and express of the Messiah himself? You know what I'm talking about? What need we going to have for that in the mercy seat? And he's going to be sitting in the throne right in front of us. And it says, and the tables were the work of God, and the writings were the writing of God graven upon the tables, which we know is the new covenant. Drop down about verse 21. Well, verse 19, I should say. And it came to pass, as soon as he came near unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, Moses' anger waxed high. He cast the tables out of his hands and brake them beneath the mount. And he took the calf which they had made and burned it in fire and ground it to powder and started upon the water and made the children of Israel drink of it. Now can you imagine that? It's gold now. He made the people drink it. Why? Because they had brought their shame out. Moses said unto Aaron, what did this people unto thee, that thou hast brought so great sin upon thee? Aaron said, let not the anger of my Lord wax hot. Thou know the people that they are set on mischief. So they said unto me, make us gods, which shall go before us, for as this Moses, that man that brought us out of the land of Egypt, we want not what has become of him. And I said unto them, whosoever have any gold, let them break it off. So they gave it me, then I cast it into the fire, and there came out this calf. And Moses saw that the people were naked, for Aaron had made them naked unto their shame against amongst their enemies. So this is why he says here, blessed is he that watch and pray, and have his garments, lest he be found naked, and his shame be exposed. You know what I'm talking about? Because when you done committed this sin, you naked before your enemies. That's why he said in Hebrews 4, we naked unto him that we had to do. He see everything. He know everything. But when we walk contrary to the word, that makes us naked to the world. We have no covering. You know what I'm talking about? This is one of the reasons why he tell the women to cover their heads, because now you got a covering because you covered by your head. You know what I'm talking about? Whether she has a husband, her husband is her head, his head is the Messiah, the father's head, and the Messiah's head is the father. And if that woman ain't got no husband, then her head is the Messiah, and the Messiah's head is his father. You know what I'm saying? Unless she's up under her father, dwelling in his house, then that's that woman's head. You know what I'm talking about? But you'll have people, well, you can find that in the law. You don't have no understanding of the order of God and how things set up, and you just want to do what you want to do your thing. You know what I'm talking about? You want to do what you want to do, guess what? Do your thing. Ain't nobody mad at you. Just know its consequences and repercussions. So he says, then Moses stood in the gate of the camp, and who is on your side, let him come unto me. And all the sons of Levi gathered themselves together. And he said unto them, thus saith Yah God of Israel, but every man is toward by his side, and let go in out from the gate to gate throughout the camp, and slay every man his brother, every man his companion, every man his neighbor. Now how many people gonna say, you think, boy, they was in the wilderness, and they standing there, and they like, boy, who on y'all side? And he said, boy, kill everybody. You know what I'm talking about? And he said, everybody, don't have no pity. You might have to kill Mom Dukes. You might have to kill your homeboy, your brother, and his wife. You know what I'm talking about? Because they sat out here and committed idolatry. The Levites was ready. Listen to what he said they did. And the children of Levi did according to the word of Moses, and there fell the people that day about 3,000 men. You know what I'm talking about? And then Moses go on to ask the Most High to blot him out his book. That's when the Most High say, I'm going to blot out my book whoever sinned against me. You know what I'm talking about? This is how you get your name out of the book of life. That's in the 33rd verse in that chapter. How you get your name out of the book of life, man? Sinning against God, get your name blotted right on out. And people don't sit and consider that and ponder that in their heart. You know what I'm talking about? Well, we're going to start going to get into it. Let's look at Psalm 78, and we'll get to Psalm 106. Because like I said, we went along with dealing with that. Because I told you it's a lot of information. Huh? No, I know. I mean, and it's still a lot of stuff. It's a lot of information. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of information we're dealing with. Like I told us, we were going to get to it eventually if the Lord permitted. You know what I'm saying? And we hadn't even got on the other aspect of, because she asked for it. You know what I'm talking about? which is the part 2. You know what I'm talking about? Because we got to deal with the first part so you can understand the second part. You know what I'm saying? And why Paul said what he said in Hebrews and in 1 Corinthians. We'll look at Psalm 78. We're going to look at about verse 5. He said, for he established the testimony in Jacob and appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generations to come might know them, even the children which should be born, who should arise and declare them to their children, that they might set their hope in God and forget not the works of God, but to keep his commandments, and not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that was not set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not steadfast with God. Didn't we read in Hebrews 3, say, we partake of the Messiah if we keep our confidence steadfast unto the end? See, the people were not steadfast and enduring, standing on the rock. You know what I'm talking about? Because we got to set our hope in God. You see what he said, the works of God, and you hear people quick to say, faith without works is dead. Now you see what the works is. What's the works? The works of God. Keep his commandments. You know what I'm talking about? Because what's the work of God showing for when he's talking about Abraham? Abraham, get ye up from your kindred and leave the land and go to the land which I showed you. What is that? That's a commandment, isn't it? So he showed his faith in God when he did what? He obeyed that commandment. You know what I'm talking about? See, that's what people play there, faith without work. You getting up to go chase after what you lusting after for is not showing your faith in God and he ain't told you to do it. You know what I'm talking about? That's what you want to do. Now, if you ask him for that and it be according to his will, and you go execute that, blessed be you. Because see, we can ask the Father for things, but that doesn't mean he's going to do it if it's not according to his will. See, that's what people don't understand. He will answer the prayer if it's according to his will. You can ask him, Lord, I sure like $30,000. That don't mean he's going to give you $30,000 because you obey him if it's not according to his will. You know what I'm talking about? He might give you $500. Because that's all you need. Because I give you any more, I know what you're going to do. You know what I'm talking about? And that's just using that as an example. Because people think this man is just your personal wish giver. You know what I'm talking about? I go make a prayer, I know he going to give it to me. You know what I'm saying? And then they ain't even obeying him, so you shouldn't expect nothing anyway. You know what I'm talking about? But he lets you let me know that if you ask and it's according to his will, he will do it. And you have to believe that he will do it. You know what I'm saying? Drop down about verse 10. He said they kept not the covenant of God and refused to walk in his law, and forgat his works and the wonders that he showed them. Marvelous things did he in the sight of their fathers in the land of Egypt in the field of Zoan. He divided the sea and caused it to pass through, and he made the waters to stand as a heap. In the daytime also he led them with the cloud, and all the night with the light of fire. He clave the rocks in the wilderness and gave them drink out of the great depths. He brought streams out of water from rocks and caused waters to run down like rivers. What do you say was going to come out your belly? Rivers of living water. So he called that again. He was trying to show us something. Showing us the Son. Showing us the Holy Ghost. This is what we had this discussion on. We know that people didn't have the Holy Ghost before us. You know what I'm talking about? How could they when he was giving them the foreshadow and the showing of the greatness of the promise that was to come? Hallelujah for Yahshua. He said they sinned yet more again against him by provoking the Most High in the wilderness. They tempted God in their heart by asking for meat in their lust. Yea, they spake against God, and they said, can God furnish a table in the wilderness? Now hold that, and look at Numbers 11, about verse 1. Because we already read what they tempted God, talking about can he give us some food. But listen to these things. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just niggas talking. These ain't Jews or Hebrews talking, or upright, holy, and righteous men. These niggas talking. Listen to what he said in verse 1. And when the people complained, it displeased y'all. And y'all heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of y'all burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto y'all, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of y'all burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell a lusting, and the children of Israel, I think this is it where we want. And the children of Israel also wept again, and he said, who shall give us flesh to eat? We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers, and the melons, and the leeks, and the onions, and the garlic. They like this here, we got fish fries, cucumbers, and pickles. You know what I'm saying? Pickles and watermelon. This is what these niggas out here talking about. I remember when I was a slave, we used to eat that good broiled salmon, good broiled lamb. We had these cucumbers, and we had our manners and guarded. But listen to what they said now. But now our soul is dried away. There's nothing at all besides this manna before our eyes. You cried for the manna. Now you don't want it. Talking greasy about it. Boy. Look at verse 10. The verses hold the people weep throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of Yah was kindled greatly, and Moses was also displeased. And Moses said unto Yah, wherefore hast thou afflicted thy servant? Wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, and thou lay the burden of all this people upon me? And you could otherwise like this is a hard thing to carry. That's a strong man right there. And the book said he was the meekest man upon the face of the earth. And didn't the master say, I'm lowly and meek? Again, like a prophet, like under Moses, because it takes some manner of humility to deal with these people. You know what I'm talking about? Not to just snap and just go through punching niggas in the face. You know what I'm talking about? Because I know at the time Moses probably wanted to come up and just punch niggas in the face. You know what I'm saying? It was the rebelliousness of the people which caused him to strike the rock and not speak to it. You know what I'm talking about? And not sanctify the Father because these people had to piss him off. Listen to what he said. He said, have I conceived all these people? Have I begotten them that they should say unto me, carry them in thy bosom, as a nursing father bears a sucking child into the land which thou swear unto thy fathers? When should I give flesh unto all this people? Saying, give us flesh that we may eat. I'm not able to bear all these people alone because it's too heavy for me. And I figured, because they just drive me crazy. You know what I'm talking about? Where is that? This is what it is. No, this ain't. Oh, yeah. Drop down to verse 17. He said, I will come down and talk with thee there, and I will take the spirit which is upon thee and will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, and thou shalt not bear it thyself alone. And say thou unto the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and ye shall eat flesh. For you have weeped in the ears of Yah, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore Yah will give you flesh, and ye shall eat. And ye shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month until it come out of your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you. Because you have despised Yah which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why came we forth out of Egypt? Wow. Going back to Psalm 7. He said, you're going to get it for a month. So he said, it be loathsome to you. Don't want no more. You know what I'm talking about? Hold on, let me go back there, because I think right after he said that, he killed some people. Yeah, he did. Verse 22. I'm trying to remember if he killed some people. 31. And when they went forth a wind from Yah and brought quail from the sea and let them fall by the camp, as it was a day's journeys on this side, and as it was a day's journey on the other side round about the camp, and as it were 2 cubits high upon the face of the earth, and the people stood up all that day and all that night and all the next day, and they gathered the quails. He gathered 10 homers, and they spread them all abroad for themselves round about the camp. And while the flesh was yet between their teeth, ere as it was chewed, the wrath of Yah was kindled against the people, and Yah smote the people with a very great plague. So he killed them while they were chewing. This is good meat. Walk! Is he just? Is he right? Because they sizing and disrespecting him. You know what I'm saying? But we don't like to look at it in that fashion. Going back to Psalm 7. What's that original? I was going to say, thought you had to bail out on the bed. I ain't heard from you. You supposed to call up and come to the gym. You ain't even called.
I quit my job. I know that.
I heard that. I heard that, but I just told her I ain't heard this since Monday.
Nah, me in the hospital.
Was she in labor?
I think, I don't know.
I heard that, man.
Might look.
We'll deal with it when we get done, man. We dealing with the wilderness part. I'll put it on your wall for you to catch the part that you don't miss. But she doing all right, though?
Yes, should be all right. I mean, I got my phone on, so she gonna call me.
Yeah, that's what that nigga on. She'll be all right. She's a soldier, huh? She can take it. Gotta be that rough, guys. I hear you, man. Saul said there, that's what it was. Verse 22. He said, because they believed not in God and trusted not in his salvation. Is that not what's happening? And when we disobey God's word, what is really we showing? We don't trust in it, we don't believe in it, nor his salvation. Because if we trust God and we trust his salvation, what we going to do? We're going to stay steadfast in that confidence to the end. We're going to stand on the law. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think I just be on some. I'm dead serious when I say, man, I'm going to stand on the rock. The man say, keep your confidence. So if I'm saying it here because my confidence and my hope is in who? It's in God. It's in the God of Israel. I know what I'm going to receive for standing. I know the same way he told them to speak to that rock for them waters to come out so that they could get that living water to live. I know if I stand there and speak to this rock, by speaking meaning obeying his voice, eating his words so his words manifest themselves in me from the inside out, you know what I'm talking about? Then I can get living waters. Because I know, because we heard him say that Wednesday. Because I know I can be in the Old Testament a lot too. You know what I'm talking about? But there's a reason for that. You know what I'm saying? I told you that's how he taught them. You know what I'm talking about? Because you got to start there, because then when we actually go to the other half of the book and make it so crystal clear and simple, you know what I'm talking about? So where we can see why the man said what they said, just like when we're going to touch back them things in 1 Peter 2. Like I said, all those in them verses, he will quote the scripture. How many times did he say he will quote it? Just once. Just one time. You know what I'm saying? Just one time. Because when the book is in you, it should flow out of you. You feel what I'm saying? When you speak on it, when you're dealing with it, it should flow out of you in your works and in your words, in spirit and in truth. You know, and thank God in the name of Yahshua for his word. Just drop down here, because we ain't going to read all everything, but this alone. There's a lot of verses in here. He said, well, we'll read verse 22 though. He said, though he commanded the clouds from above and opened the doors of heaven, he rained down manna upon them to eat and gave them the corn of heaven. Man did eat angels' food, and he set them to meat to the full. Drop down to verse 27. He also rained flesh upon them as dust and feathered fowls like the land of the sea. He let it fall in the midst of their camp round about their habitation, so they did eat and were filled, for he gave them their own desire. They were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of God came upon them and slew the fattest of them and smote down the chosen men of Israel. So we just went and read what he's talking about. Because you see, David is going back over the history of our people again, because you see, these things have to be reminded to us. Because there's 3 different Psalms that talk about this. We already dealt with Psalm 95, which was quoted in Hebrews 3, and we're going to deal with the other one. Because these things have to be stirred to our remembrance so we don't do what? Like Paul said, that you may be admonished. That these men were made examples, that you should not lust after evil things. Where they at now? Where we at? He say, for all this they sin still and believe not as one in this world. Now can you imagine that he's killing these people and they still don't believe? You know what I'm talking about? What more you need to see? And you know what it is. That's old hard-headed child. He done disobeyed you. You done whooped him. He's still bucking. You take everything out of his room. You restrict anything he can get. He's still bucking. You crack his skull some more. He's still bucking. Like, what more I got? This nigga here is ill. Then what happens? You do like what they do to Deuteronomy. Man, look here, man. I got an old stubborn, rebellious, gluttonous son. Kid. You know what I'm talking about? But now we don't do none of these things. You just get on around here, boy. I'm going to leave you to your own devices. Let's just see how that works out for you. But nevertheless, where we at? He said, verse 33, therefore their days did he consume in vanity, their years in trouble. And when he slew them, they thought it, and they returned and inquired early after God. And guess what? Here you go. And they remember that God was their rock, and the high God their redeemer. So they remember Yahshua was their rock, and Yahshua was their redeemer. Because who was that blood on the doorpost symbolizing? It was symbolizing him. He redeemed them one time, and he came and redeemed us again. You know what I'm talking about? And when we go back to the wilderness, they're going to think and consider that Yahshua is our rock, and that the God of Israel is our redeemer. And hopefully, and prayerfully, they'll turn to his word. But see, this is what the people are doing. He said, nevertheless, they did lie to him with their mouth, and they lied unto him with their tongues, for their heart was not right with him. Neither were they steadfast in their covenant. Hold on, here go that grace again. But he, being full of compassion, forgave their iniquities and destroyed them not. Yea, many a time he turned his anger away and did not stir up all his wrath. But remember that they were but flesh and a wind that passed away, and come not again. How often did they provoke him in the wilderness and grieve him in the desert? Yea, they turned back and tempted and limited the Holy One of Israel. Now how were they limiting him? You heard it. Can he fix us a table? Can we get some water? We came out here to die. You know what I'm saying? You ought to die, nigga. You ought to die. You know what I'm saying? That's how I look at it. And that ain't being in no pride or nothing. That's sitting back looking at it from the Father's and the Son's vantage point. You know what I'm talking about? And you know what I'm saying? And I ain't saying I would have had mercy on them, because I also, like he said, I'm a river, they dust. You You know what I'm saying? And I'm a merciful God, full of compassion, forgive iniquity and sin. But at the same time, I'm going to visit them. You know what I'm talking about? I'm going to come see them. Because you can't try somebody like that and don't expect no wrath. And remember what he said, the wrath only fell on who? The ones that believe not. Not the ones that believed and obeyed. Did Joshua get wrath on him? Did Moses get wrath on him? Did Caleb get wrath on him? Aaron deserved it. He didn't get it. Miriam bucked in the wilderness. She got turned to leprosy. He still didn't bring it on though. And he just did that to her. She spoke against Moses. And you know what he told her? Y'all ain't scared to speak against my servant Moses. Told him and Aaron that. Aaron in the cut trembling like this here. Man. Like this here. Because people don't know. You can't speak against a man God doesn't set up. Because guess what? He's coming to see you. You know what I'm talking about? People don't understand the point of those type of things though. Let's see where we at now. We ain't gonna deal with all that. That's a lot. Let's see if we're gonna do all this. No, I'm gonna deal with something else. Look at Psalm 106. Verse 1. Hallelujah. Oh, give thanks unto Yah, for he is good and his mercy endure forever. Who can utter the mighty acts of Yah? Who can show forth all his praise? Blessed are they that keep judgment, and he that do righteousness at all times. Remember me, O Yah, with the favor that I bear unto thy people. O visit me with thy salvation. That I may see the good of thy chosen, that I may rejoice in the gladness of thy nation, that I may glory with thy inheritance. So this is what we're desiring. This is what he was writing about his forefathers perceiving. The first time we were in the wilderness, this is what we're desiring in the beginning. He's talking about when he rebuked the sea. Look down at verse 9. Or verse 7. Matter of fact, we'll just keep on going. We have sinned with our fathers, we have committed iniquity, we have done wickedly. Our fathers understood not thy wonders in Egypt. They remembered not the multitude of thy mercies, but provoked him at the sea, even at the Red Sea. And ain't that something? We was even trying them when we crossed. You know what I'm saying? We have to really sit there and think about that. We were trying them when we crossed. Because remember when we crossed, we were leaving out of haste on the first day of unleavened bread. We had did the Passover already. They kicked us out that night. Like, you niggas got to go, and you got to go now. And you know how we did. Let me get them earrings in that outfit. They said, here, man, get 3 times that. Let's get over from up out of here. You know what I'm talking about? And as we leave, they're like, okay, we're going to come kill him. Listen to what he said. He rebuked the Red Sea also, and it was dried up, so he led them through the depth as through the wilderness. And he saved them from the hand of him that hated them, and redeemed them from the hand of the enemy. And this is what Luke 1:16 talking about. He's raised up a horn of salvation from us, that we should be saved from the hand of our enemies and all those that hate us. So that's the twofold thing that remember that the Master came to do. To deliver us from sin and death, and deliver us from the hand of our enemies. You know what I'm talking about? And the waters covered their enemies, there was none of them left. They didn't believe his words, and they sang his praise. They soon forgot his works, and they waited not for his counsel, but lusted exceedingly in the wilderness, and tempted God in the desert. And he gave them their request, but sent leanness into their soul. They envied Moses, also in the camp, and Aaron, the saint of Yah. The earth opened up and swallowed Dathan and covered the company of Abraham. And the fire was kindled in their company, and the flames burnt up the wicked. He said they made a calf in the Horeb and worshipped the molten image. They changed their glory to the similitude of an ox that eats grass. Ain't that something? You change the glory which delivers you into a beast that chew on grass. So that goes back to what Paul said in Romans 1 about they worshiped the creation more than the creator, and made the incorruptible God like unto something corruptible, which people still do to this day. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing new under the sun. Well, yeah, he's saying they forgot God, their Savior, which had done great things for them in Egypt. Now, when he was talking about when they tried him in the camp, like I say, you can write this down for your own time, so we ain't going to read all the rest of these here. But you can go look at Numbers 16, Numbers 18, Numbers 25, and about Numbers 20. You know what I'm saying? About that there. I'm trying to remember the exact spot, but it talks about it. You know, envying the man in the camp, and that still goes on to this day. You know what I'm saying? Your spouse husband got a little bit of that, and he ain't going to go that far with it. You know what I'm saying? Just the envying in the camp. Remember, because I want my great name now. You know what I'm saying? To where you want to be here. If God didn't put you there, you can't be where he didn't put you. You know what I'm talking about? God put men in the spot where he wanted them at. Hey, a man sit and choose, I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that. Did he say, blessed is the man whom thou chose? Moses didn't wake up and say, I'm going to be the one to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt. The God of Israel chose him for that. And we just was reading before you came in the door. He like, this is a heavy burden for me. I can't bear it by myself. You know what I'm talking about? Thank God in the name of Yahshua can. Because you know what I'm talking about? Because he's the Son of God who dwelt from the beginning. Because you imagine just being a flesh and blood man to have to deal with every so-called Negro in the world? Leading them up out of captivity? Can you imagine that? I'm talking about every nigger in all 50 states. Everyone in France, Europe, Asia, Spain. I'm talking about Africa, the Middle East, Central, North America, the West Indies, Cuba, everywhere. And you the one that had to lead them up out of their captivity and deal with them. And all you got is your older brother. And he made a calf for him because they said they ain't know where you went at because you were gone for a day. That's a heavy burden, man. You know what I'm talking about? Because if you know black people, and you should since you is one, you know we can go hard. You know what I'm talking about? We can go real hard. When niggas buck, they buck. You know what I'm talking about? We ain't like most people when we kick and buck. When we buck, we buck. We make, I'm talking about, as we can see in this book, we came up with bucking. You know what I'm talking about? We the masters of it. You know what I'm talking about? For real now. You know that heavy when God chose you as his people, and he said, man, look at Moses, that's a stiff-necked people right there. Them some buckers right there. You know what I'm talking about? That's bad, boy, when your own creator tell you that. You got to think about that. Look at that, man. Look at verse 33. He said, they provoked his spirit, so they spake unadvisedly with his lips. And that's versus talking with Moses and Phineas execute judgment. And we'll leave it at that on that matter. We might touch a couple more things in the law pertaining to this, but now let's just go straight on in. Revelation 12 chapter, first verse, and let's get it. Because we already been rolling for 2 hours, and this might take a little bit, but you might have to cut this thing in half. I know ain't nobody wants to sit through 3 hours free that. But like I said, there's a lot of information. You want to put something like that? You can. Would you be able to